Here we go.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
This is nice, isn't it?
This is lovely. I can think of much worse ways to spend the afternoon.
It's what gardens are for, hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll hang out for the afternoon and everyone can join us.
Yeah.
So, my first thing that I want to know, before anything else, is how did you even get into gardening? Have you always been into gardening from a young age?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, my parents are very good gardeners, and I probably didn't appreciate how good they were until I got my own garden. And so I've seen them spend a lot of time in the garden. I've seen them doing projects in the garden, all that sort of stuff. But then was a teenager and was going out and finding other things to find fun. And then it was when I lived in London for a few years and had flats and flat shares, and gardening was not a part of my life then or through university. And then I bought my first house. Very lucky to be able to do that with some help. Like so many of us, that's how we kind of need to get onto the housing ladder these days. But it was at that point where new build house, and in one of the options appointments that you have, you sit down with your sales lady and they say, would you like us to lay you a lawn? And they're going to charge you an outrageous amount of money to do it. And I remember ringing my mum and dad and saying, do you think I should do it? Would it be easier? And they said, oh goodness, no, they'll do it terribly and you need the soil. And it was like, oh, okay. So I said, no, Sally, I don't want the option of you laying my lawn for me. You're builders. I'm going to do it myself. And it's sort of at that point that I really became a gardener, because suddenly it was okay, I've now got a garden of classic new build rectangle. It was on a slope, and it's sort of there that it became part of my life. But then obviously a bit later that, it's become a passion and a
and did it really kind of take off for you later after that? Yeah,
so I think year one of that garden was around this sort of time of year, starting to think about getting a lawn down and starting to think about dealing with this awkward slope. They often hand you these random things in a new build plot. And I started to think about that and was reading up and figuring I always had a bit of I quite like design. So I started to think about what that might be and started to think about what I wanted from the garden as well, having never had one of my own. So dining with friends, wanted to get a dog, all these things. And then laying the lawn was that first step. And then, I remember putting in, I remember thinking, to make the lawn really big, I just have some really small borders down the sides. Oh, wow. I remember looking down after a year of these sort of probably 30 centimetre deep borders with a few heathers in, thinking, that's really nice. And thinking, I think I need to make those a bit wider. And just slowly but surely getting really, really into it. And I got so into it then that I decided I wanted a veg patch. So built a raised bed.
Nice.
So you're starting to get a bit more, advanced at this point. I've got nice deep borders. I've got some hard landscaping. I've got an archway. We've painted the shed. We've got roses. We're there. We're nearly there. The lawn's lush. Everything's coming together. I've got a water feature. Fantastic. So I've got a raised bed. That was actually where Garden to Garnish was born, because I thought, taking inspiration from Hugh Richards and people like that, thinking there's a lot I can grow in this one bed. This is cool. And that's where I started Instagramming, because I thought this could be relatable for other people who have small gardens or are just getting into it, figuring it out a bit, like I've already done and continuing to do. And then not long after that, I very swiftly grew out of my just one bed, and I got an allotment.
Oh, nice.
And then it went on and on and on until here we are.
Spiraled from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was that pre-lockdown that you had that
So,
garden?
yes, it was. So during pre-lockdown and then through lockdown. And then I got the allotment actually early on in those horrendous COVID times.
It's good that you could get an allotment.
Oh,
You
my.
snapped one up, because now you can't get one at all.
I
ever since
know.
then.
I was on the waiting list for a while.
Mm.
And I remember getting a call from the lady. We've had an allotment plot come up. Oh, great, cool, very exciting. Ran round.
It's like
literally.
winning the lottery.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. Ran round, and I looked at the plot, and I thought, okay,
You can have it back. Was it one of those?
And first of all, it was like, is it all of this? Yes. Right. Okay. I've never had this much space in my life. Okay. And then I started to explore what was there. Well, and I thought, is this mare's tail?
Oh, no.
Yes. Okay. Right. So it was a major challenge. And again, another layer of learning and surrounding yourself. Allotments are amazing because you're around people with years of experience. And I spent a lot of time up there, not only dealing with the weeds to get it ready to be, grown on, but also for the company and for the experience of other people.
That is great about allotments, and at first it can seem a little bit scary, can't it, with all these people who've been doing it for years, like you say, and you almost think they're going to be looking at you like, oh, you're not doing it like that, are you? But actually, when I had an allotment, like, my neighbour was like, I learnt so much from him. He had been doing it for years, but he'd water my plot when I couldn't get to it for work, and he'd teach me how to grow things that I could never grow. And
it is wonderful. It's such a community feel. And you are all in it together, through the weather, through the weeds. There was a lovely old chap who used to, give me cuttings or give me seeds, and there's a lot of seed swapping goes on, but also just learning, just genuinely learning from those who have had all of that lifetime of experience versus, people like us who haven't yet.
Yeah.
And it was, that I look back on those years fondly, and I did manage to get the mare's tail under control.
Great. It never goes away, though.
It never goes away. No. You learn to live with it and not sort of get a bit creeped out by it. I used to get a bit creeped out by it, but I grew dahlias there. I grew all my cut flowers. I grew, heaps of veg. And again, everything that I've learned, I've brought with me.
Yeah, to this amazing garden.
I know.
Which, you've been here about a year now, you were saying.
Yeah, so I got the keys about a year ago, but didn't move in straight away and didn't get started on the garden straight away. So it's sort of coming up now to a full year, and it is quite a space.
I mean, it's a great space, so much opportunity. But I guess it's just been kind of working out what is going on with it this year, isn't it? Where does the sun come up? Where do things grow? I mean, I've had gardens before. There's loads of hidden bulbs and plants you didn't even know about, and just letting it kind of be for a year. I guess
the biggest advice I always, give if somebody's thinking about, or if they've moved house or they're moving in somewhere, don't dig everything up. Yeah. Don't crash it. Don't, especially this one, which is, I would describe it as once loved. And so I have taken some control over it this year. There's a lot of weeds, trying to get a sense of the maintenance that's needed in certain areas. This path here, Tom, I didn't even know was here. I remember New Year's Day.
That's cool.
I was out in the garden. Even in the winter, I'm like, get outside. And I remember just sort of casually putting my spade down and sort of doing a bit of this and hearing stone. And then a few days later, with the help of my brother, we revealed all these.
It's really cool as
stones. So it's kind of been a year of getting a feel for it, getting a feel for the light. As you say, it's so important to do that. Also sound, and I'm really excited about it because it's got lots of different bits, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of different parts to the garden, and every little part, I feel like I'm starting to form a plan.
Yeah, now you've got plans for the next few years, haven't you?
I do, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I look back to my old garden and think I learnt so much from it. So I'm kind of thinking the things I'm going to learn from this garden are huge because it's a totally different challenge. It's long. The sort of bit by the house is very cottage garden feel, but there's things that need tweaking and changing and evolving. Then it lacks space for entertaining, which is something I like to do. Mm-hmm. And it's a big part of your
those gins
garden.
Flowing.
Absolutely.
It is a big part of the garden, yeah.
And eating and enjoying, all that lovely weather we've had. And so it lacks that. So kind of where we're sitting now, in a year or two time will hopefully feel quite different, but does need some considerable groundwork.
Yeah.
And then just down at the bottom there's the kitchen garden, which again has a real once loved feel. There's raised beds there already. There's fruit, there's an apple tree, there's all sorts of stuff going on there, but it's wild. It needs restoring and bringing
back under control.
Yeah. Got a greenhouse coming.
That is
lots
the most
of
exciting
things. I'm
thing.
so excited about it. I just think I'm just going to live there. People won't see me in the house. I'll be
always be at the
asleep
greenhouse.
in the greenhouse. So yeah, it's a journey. That's what gardening is, isn't it? It is literally a journey of growing and building on your experience year on year. And God, I feel like I'm doing that now.
So when you've got your new greenhouse, what sort of things are you going to be growing in there?
All the seeds.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to be how I was when I first started growing from a seed, which was grow too much and go crazy and then have too much to deal with. But
It's always the way.
I'm going to be overly excited when it comes. But things I love growing from seed are foxgloves.
They're a long game, though.
They're a long game, but my God, they're worth it.
Mm.
Snapdragons, all those like lovely kind of cottage garden.
You've got quite a nice cottage garden style.
Yeah. Some of my embedding plants, so some violas and things like that would be nice. Geraniums, love growing from seed, really rewarding. Because then you go around some of the garden centres, I've got my own at home. And then grow your own. So tomatoes, I'm thinking lettuce, I'm thinking...
Well, you've got all those amazing veg.
I do, yeah. So I'm going to have different beds. I want brassicas. I want it all. So I'm going to be...
that greenhouse is going to be packed. The podcast, sponsored by Mr. Fothergill, so you'll be sorted, because with the code TOM20, you... and not just you, but anyone listening, can have 20% off. So it's Tom20 on their website, and you can have 20% off.
Noted.
Write that down.
Noted.
So when you get that greenhouse,
all over it.
Order is
I'm already looking through seed catalogues, going, yep. So I'll be using it.
Apologies, I think we got a bit excited when we recorded the podcast, and we actually got the discount code wrong. There you go. There's a podcast first. The discount code is actually TOM25, and you get 25% off Mr. Fothergill's seeds. So there you go. It's even better than we thought. Grab some bargain seeds now with code TOM25. Yeah, and talking about the journey, so you started doing the Instagram, like you say, because you wanted to show other people and kind of help them if they were in the same situation. And how have you found that? How's it gone from there? From starting it to be like, I might show some other people, and then where did it go from there?
So I started Instagramming for almost my own benefit, because I thought the raised bed was interesting and I would be growing and it was a new experience. Then it built a bit more, because I thought, actually, there are people who want to get into gardening like I have. And one of the things I vividly remember, if I think before I'd laid any turf or done anything, was it's really hard to find just the basics. So, yes, there's the pros and there's all the, Latin, there's a whole thing there, right? But actually, for the average person who's got very limited time, but a garden and wanting to do something with it, but hasn't got, all the experience in the world, doesn't have all of that knowledge, I felt like there was a real gap in going, these are the basics, and making it really fun and making it feel accessible and feel accessible to people like me.
Yeah.
And us, and I think that's where I started, and that's where I found it to be really successful in that, just breaking down any barriers to entry into gardening, and also finding the fun in it, and just keeping it simple and straight talking, no jargon, no nothing, just this is how you do this, if this is what you want, this is how you do it. And now I do it on a weekly basis on telly, which is mad.
I know. So so how did that even come about? How did you end up going from, I'll do a bit on Instagram, why not? And then before you know it, there you are on This Morning. How did that all happen?
I don't know. No, it's life is mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And life is full of luck and opportunity and connections and all these sorts of things. But when things were starting to go all right on Instagram and things were building up, and I thought, this could be something, and I am building up my gardening experience. I'm doing some courses. This is a whole thing. I thought, I'm going to build a website.
Should probably have one.
I thought, a website. People have websites. Yeah, I love a website. So I did that, built that. Easy, cool, done, template, lovely. And on the template it was like, you should create a contact form for all people who want to contact you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I built this little contact form and forgot all about it for a few months. And I mean, who knows if it was even working at that point. But anyway, I was like, I've got a website. Yeah, that's cool. And then lo and behold, the first contact via...
What are the chances?
I know. It's so crazy. The first contact via my contact form was from the head of features on This Morning, who I now obviously know really well.
Yeah.
But at the time had no idea who it was, saying they'd seen my Instagram and would like to talk to me about being on the show, and would I be up for that, and those sorts of things. And I honestly thought it was I thought it could easily be a wind up. So I did a bit of research to check that this person was real. And I remember reading the email and just putting my phone down and sort of having all this nervous energy and thinking, oh my God, I knew it was a moment.
Yeah.
And so I sort of very professionally replied and said, thank you very much for your email. And yes, be very happy to chat about it. And thank you very much. And a few weeks later, we filmed in the garden, with no guarantees that it would be on the show. And it was very much a let's see how this goes kind of vibe. And then they said, yes, we would like it to go out on the show. And then week after week, it went from there. And then a few weeks after that, I was doing live telly, having never done it before in my life.
No.
And just thinking, well, I've just got to do this. This is happening. I've got to, whatever this has in store for me, I'm doing it. And I went for it and it all worked out. And 2.5 years later, I'm still there and still living my best life.
Yeah.
Really.
And so you'd never done anything like that before?
No.
Definitely not live?
No. So the moment that the cam operator puts a thing in your ear and you can hear, the presenters in the studio, and you just think, what?
Oh no, it's happening.
Yeah, you know, that it's like a Dawn French moment where she does these things on Instagram and she just sort of does she's just not really talking, and I felt like that might happen to me. Like I'd just be like, but I've managed to hold it together, and I'm still doing it. So
doing a great job.
Hopefully, I'm doing an all right job. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
And then here you are now, a few years later, and absolutely loving it. Do you love it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And the thing I love most is traveling around the country or abroad even, and meeting people. And meeting people is the most wonderful thing. The different gardeners I've met, the different just passionate people I've met through doing the show is remarkable. And through that even I'm learning. So I'm on the road filming week after week. I'm meeting people and I'm learning from them, and it really has been a brilliant journey that just continues, where, you know, I started the year, even this year, in Bath at the Botanical Gardens, and there was a gardener who's been working there for like 20 years, and he's called Did. I mean, what? And you meet these characters, and Did such a character, you know, so much, and you spend the day with these people, and it's I do feel very lucky that I've been given the opportunity. And I mean, I sort of later found out, you know, having worked on the show for a while now, that it was the editor who had seen my Instagram. And I think it really made me realise that, you know, all that hard work that I'd put in, it was really worth it. You know, you only need one person to kind of see you to get a chance to get a break. But also that you have to kind of continue to grow. You have to continue to work hard. You have to continue to connect with people. But, you know, I've got a diary I keep and notes I make through everything I'm doing. And that's all part of the journey, I suppose, from gardening, is meeting all these people and learning as much as you can from them. So, yeah, it's been a really awesome journey so far.
Yeah, wow.
And it's great fun. I mean, it's chaos sometimes, and it's great.
Well, yeah, exactly. Just like you say, getting to go all over the place and meet different people and see some of the amazing things that you see. I mean, I saw on your Instagram that guy with the hanging baskets the other day. Wow, like I've never seen so many hanging baskets.
Sean in Bristol, what a guy! Amazing. All those hanging baskets in his garden, every single one of them immaculate. I was so jealous. I was like, you are a god.
And did you pick up some tips from him
I
about
did.
how to get them like that?
Do you know what? I think the biggest thing I picked up from him is just commitment. You know, routine.
Are you that committed to a hanging basket though?
I don't think I could have as many as he's got in his garden. No. And he does a community garden for he's got, honestly, while we were there, because the front garden's epic as well. I mean, how many people have front gardens now?
I know, yeah.
He's got this beautiful front garden, loads of hanging baskets. People walk their dog specifically
to go and
look to see his garden. But what commitment. He waters, you know, he's got it all sussed out. He's really built a routine around them. And him and his wife don't go on holiday until like November every year.
Because they can't leave them.
Because they can't leave their babies.
That is commitment.
So that is commitment.
Yeah. Wow. But I think what I didn't realise, people don't think about, is talking about the commitment of the hanging baskets, is the commitment of everything that you do. Because it's quite last minute, isn't it? TV sometimes. You're also working another job, and you've got loads of other stuff going on. You know, you've got all your commitments and stuff like that. So how does that all how do you make it all work?
I don't know. I don't know. Some weeks I sit down at the end of a week, late often, and go, what? What's happened this week? How have I done that? How have I done all that? The juggle is real. Like it's exhausting at times. You know, you can't give some of these things half your energy. They require all of your being. So I'll be on the road filming, and then I'll be at an event, or I would be, you know, doing the garden here. Then juggling everything else, having Ernie, having a life, working. Yeah, but it's hard. I can't lie. Like, there's some times when I think, oh God, I don't know how. Sometimes I look at the week and think this is going to be a busy one.
This? Yeah.
But the reward is doing things I love, working with amazing people, meeting brilliant people, connecting with people on social media is, you know, a brilliant.
Yeah.
You know how lucky we are to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so even though it can be exhausting at times, it's so worth it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's fun, and I think there's just like, well, you know, you've changed your life through doing this, and it's nice to do that for something that you love.
Yeah, and like you say, you've had the benefit of having worked hard and it's kind of paid off, and you've had that break, and now you're kind of like, yeah, it's definitely worth it. And like you say, you've got to keep that up, and it really makes you kind of have the appetite to do all that stuff, because like you say, it's so rewarding. And I'm exactly the same. You kind of just want to take every opportunity and make the most of it. And
totally. Life is short. Life is short. The time we have is, you know, a moment. And I think I would never want to be bored. I wouldn't want to be living with any regret. And I don't, you know, I do as much as I can, seize as many opportunities as I can, and you know, sleep when on holiday. I mean, that's
it. But I love that you're quite honest about it, though. You know, when you go on Instagram, you're kind of just like, I have been so busy, so the garden is full of weeds, and here's a video basically of my weeds.
Yeah. Oh my God. The weeding situation, that's the biggest eye-opener in this garden, is whookie, there's a lot of weeds. And yeah, sometimes I can be away, for weeks at a time. If there's, you know, I was in Lincoln, then I was in Derbyshire, then I'm in wherever I am, down in Cornwall. And the travelling, all this sort of stuff. And so the time that you actually have becomes smaller and smaller in the garden. Yeah, I look around sometimes, like, oh God, so much to do. And I like to do it, you know, that's why I'm here. Yeah. I like gardening.
Do you find that it's like your downtime when you've got such a busy work life and schedule and stuff, even though that is partially about gardening?
Yes.
But actually it's your, like, switch off.
Oh, it really is. I can always tell when I've not been in the garden. I feel like I'm more stressed, anxious. I can be, you know, sometimes feel a bit dark in terms of slightly kind of down. And then if I even spend 10 minutes in the garden just pulling out the bindweed, I go, feel better.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful benefit of gardening, because you can't use your hands the way you need to in the garden. You can't kind of be busy with all your jobs and be scrolling. There's an irony, I think, in some of my success, in that I've been successful on social media, but I also really like not being on it and being in the garden.
Yeah, that's the challenge I've found, especially doing it more and more for a job, because I do love it, but it's also finding the balance, because if I spend too much time on there, you start to not love it. And actually, I'm kind of like, well, I actually want to enjoy gardening or having this moment to myself, and I'm going to put the phone down for a little bit. And
yeah, and you can be very absorbed in others and not be thinking about you. And you can also become quite self-critical through spending too much time on there or comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And I think putting a stop and going, I'm going to go outside now, I'm going to go and do X, Y, and Z, is really empowering, because it gives you a break and it gives you a time to connect. And, you know, I remember vividly when my grandpa died, and then, you know, a couple of years later my nan passed away, and the healing power of spending time in the garden was huge. Like, I don't. It's such a brilliant healing hobby, a healing thing to do, and it certainly has helped me manage stress, manage grief, helps to disconnect a bit, connect with your thoughts or just the plant that you're, pulling up the vine weed round. Whatever it might be, you're in that moment. And I don't think there's many other things in life where you have that opportunity. Although I was a couple of weeks ago, I was filming with some canoeists in Lincoln, and we were canoeing and we were litter picking, and I had sort of had a similar moment. I remember saying to the guy there, I was like, I can see why you do this. You're both hands, you're in the water, you're around nature, there's all the birds, and then you're pulling out all the bits and bobs from the river, and it was a similar thing.
Yeah, it's that time to yourself and your headspace. And it
was really nice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly the same, and I think I agree. It's one of the few things that I get quite kind of in my head with like so much stuff, again, busy schedules and stuff, and I don't know about you, but I sometimes feel like I just rush from one thing to the next thing, and like you don't actually have a minute to enjoy it because you just go, right, I've done that was really great, and now I've got to rush here because I've got to do that, and I've got stopping and doing the gardening, it all just kind of pauses. I don't know why, but I don't even think about it when I'm gardening. Maybe I'm just processing it in the background, but it kind of like it all just stops, and you're just, like you say, in that moment.
You're in the moment. There's like a little switch, and you just go into a different zone. I think our generation, I think that is it is a problem. Yeah. It's one of the, social media is great. We're here, through it. We know each other through that. Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's all the things that can be quite harmful, and therefore gardening is a really good antidote to just be grounded, switch off.
And when I get back to work, you feel like totally different about it. Everything, you've been looking at your diary and going, oh my God, but then you get back to it and you go, okay, I can manage that. Maybe I'll move that around. Like you see it with a whole fresh pair of eyes.
You do. And do you know what the other things is, like just stepping outside in between a busy work day, whatever or whatever you're going through.
Have 5 minutes.
Yeah, is just step outside, and it's really powerful. And I think our generation does need to do that more. Otherwise, we're just going to be gaming and social mediaing and never
exactly.
not looking after our world.
Yeah. One thing that I love is how people have really taken an interest in what you wear. Have you? How do you find that? Have you? Especially this.
Thank you very much.
But have you? How do you find that? Did you find it weird at first?
Because
I have the same. Is that people really take it? Believe
you've
it
got
or not?
Very stylish, darling.
Thank you. People find people take an interest in what I wear and want to know where it's from and stuff. And at first I was like, do you really? Like, does anyone actually
Are you for
care?
real? Do you like this?
Why? But yeah, how have you found that?
It's been a steady thing, I suppose. At first I was like, oh my God, do you want me to link this?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, am I?
Am I that person now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been weird. Yeah, weird. And but lovely. I love it. It's quite nice. I've always been quite creative through my life. Loved art, loved drama, loved all those things at school. So I guess some of the groundwork was there. My mum is really fashion orientated. She's amazing at she's always keeping up with trends, and she's very much a big influence on me in terms of her style. And she's a stylish gal. So she's been a bit of an inspiration for me. And so I've had that. And so, but yeah, I love it. It's lush.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice when you think, and also I think fashion has especially when, as a female, I feel like I am very critical of myself and can be really critical of myself depending on my hormones, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a week on week journey, a roller coaster of emotions. So fashion is a really nice way of trying to make yourself feel good, even if maybe you don't, or you're feeling self-critical or whatever it might be. And so finding the ultimate floral dress is fun, and it's great to then share those things with people, and I love it. It's a great part of, it's who I am, genuinely is.
Yeah.
And I love that bit. It's nice to be able to say, yeah, this is from here and it's only 20 quid.
Yeah, exactly. That is nice when you can share the love.
Yeah.
But I'm exactly the same. You can kind of choose what you want to wear based on how you're feeling that day or how you want to feel that day. Because sometimes, like you say,
so true.
Some days I'm like, great, this is a day for my dungarees. Like, I'm feeling it. Out we go. And then other days, like, you're really not feeling it. But I'm like, I'm going to put them on.
Yes.
Because and it totally changes. I feel confident. I'm like, okay, this has really helped.
Yeah.
And kind of dressing for the mood that you want.
Dress for
it's
that
a
dress for the
confidence
job
builder,
you want?
isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
I think you're so right. I think it's the whole thing. It's your clothes. Like, it gives you a sense of who you are. Certainly when I'm sort of dressing for TV, it does give me that sense of, okay, I'm ready now. Like,
Especially,
feel
I
good.
agree. For stuff like that, if I'm doing a big recording day or something like that, I really think about what I'm going to wear, because I think I want to feel confident.
You want to feel
on
good.
camera, especially when it's live.
Is this thing on? I just nosed the microphone.
At least we can edit this stuff out, you know. But
what? This is the best bit. Yeah, no, I think it's a big part. It's who you are. It's who you want to sort of show to the world, and it's vital that I think it's important to pay attention to. It's like colour in the garden, colour on yourself. It's all those things. It all comes through.
And it's a nice kind of way to self-express as well.
100%.
And be like, show your personality, isn't it, as well?
It is. The green cardie is out.
The green cardie
is
out. Is it officially autumn now because the green cardie is out?
It is, yeah. I've got a vest on as well, if anyone's interested. Don't want to know where that's from.
Where's that from? Primark.
Yeah, I think it is true.
So, what you've teased today, actually, on Instagram, that you've got some stuff coming up that you can't tell anyone.
I know, I want to.
I know you're not going to tell me already, but...
I've had a gin, I might.
Great, get her another gin, everyone. She'll spill the beans. But it sounds like you've got loads of exciting stuff coming up. So what is next for Daisy?
There's lots of things bubbling, growing, sprouting, germinating. But yeah, I can't talk about the big things.
Can't tell us any of them.
The big thing's very big.
The big thing's a big secret, which we're all going to be really excited
and I'll be able
about.
we'll springtime next year.
We'll come back to this.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
Very exciting. But other things, I mean, here at home, the garden, the journey.
Big plans.
The big plans. Getting there in phases, not doing it all at once. Again, that's a big thing that I always say to like my followers in my community is, don't try and do everything all at once. So in the process of planning all of that, the greenhouse is a big thing.
When's that arriving? Have you got a date?
Soon.
So
this side of Christmas, because I'm really so I don't have my allotment anymore because
you've got plenty.
Because I've got plenty. That was quite emotional giving that up.
I bet because you've put so much love into it, and
I did.
someone got it handed over, beautifully kept after you did all that hard work. So I hope they've kept it. Have you been back?
I did a drive-by.
Yeah. Have they kept it
lovely.
up?
Yeah,
great.
It does. They've added to it.
The
as well,
worst is when I've left. I've totally done the same in gardens. Completely spent years on them, and then someone just comes in and like you do a drive-by, and it's just weeds, and you're like, oh my hard work.
The heart pangs.
It's heart-wrenching. I know.
No, it looks good. They've built on it, but I had I recycled a greenhouse, so I had some help taking one down and then putting it back up in the allotment, and I really, really miss it. It was such a space. It's so, you feel very zen in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about having one again, but also having it on home turf. So that'll be transformational, I know it, and we'll do a podcast outside.
Yeah,
it'll be lovely. So greenhouse, loads more stuff on the show, which will be fun. Christmas time, be always nice to kind of do some gardening bits, and then it'll be all building up to the thing
Secret.
we can't speak about. But yeah, lots of growing and lots of exciting things.
Yeah.
It's so not me to not. It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing to be like, I can't discuss this, but I want to.
Well, we're keeping everyone on their toes.
Yeah.
People are going to be intrigued.
Teased.
Yeah, it's a teaser.
Everybody's feeling teased. I'm sorry. I hate it. You know when people say, oh, something really exciting. Oh, God.
That's going to be the hook for this podcast,
I know.
basically. Daisy has massive news.
But can't. ...
But she doesn't tell us.
Honestly. Oh, I wish.
But we were talking earlier, though, and do you feel that looking back now, a few years on from starting your garden, doing Instagram, and then ended up on this morning, and now in your new garden and everything, like, how do you feel about all that? Because it has been a journey.
Has been, yeah. I feel very sort of peaceful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel very... When things started really kicking off and suddenly sort of catapulted into the public eye as well, that's a whole thing,
Yeah.
Seeing yourself be written about and people...
Well, how do you find that, actually? There's a question that I hadn't planned to ask, but...
At first, it was quite... I sort of found it quite entertaining at first. I was like, because I didn't feel like it would be... I felt like I was having my 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fun. And then I was like, actually, this is actually a thing. And it can be quite hard. Like, it can be quite grueling. You never know what people are going to be saying about you. So I've become a bit more resilient to it, and it's on the most of the time it's really positive.
Yeah.
So that's nice. And I think having following on Instagram who have been there from day one really helps when some of the,
they know
they're there, they're like, but I feel quite peaceful now in terms of where I am in my life. There's been a lot of change, behind the scenes and moving house and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like I'm where I should be, which is a sort of amazing feeling because I've been following my passions and my dreams and been making plans to do the things I want to do. And so I feel quite peaceful in that I feel like whatever's meant to be will be. And I've always said that in my life. But I really feel now, yes, this garden is where I should be. It feels like it's going to be the making of me in many ways.
Yeah.
I get to have all the fun on TV that I can and that I love. Really settled from a home and a relationship perspective as well. And that's just a really nice feeling, particularly as it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah, it feels like it's all kind of come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So peaceful.
Oh, nice. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Hasn't this been nice?
That has been lovely.
It's been nice.
Yeah.
Sitting in the garden, having a nice...
I know. I'm just going to stop the recording and we'll just literally just sit here and
we'll
drink
be
gin
here till
and
it's
tonics.
dark.
Yeah, exactly. It'll go dark. We'll get the candles out. Be lovely.
Be so nice.
Yeah.